crankbait such a good pre-spawn bait as these fish are trying to pull up into shallow water. The bait goes like this, and as they come up behind it, they push water, they break the vortex that's behind it, and you actually feel that and pull it away from them thinking you have it. I'm using a fast, high-speed Shimano reel. This is the Metanium, something that when I can yo-yo it like that, I can hit them and it's all tip, and then I can just get right on that reel and just start cranking them into the boat.
All right, is this camera big enough for 15-pound bass? Because that's what we're hoping to catch right now. We're in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. It was 0 when I left Minneapolis. It's gonna be 80 here in Florida while we're down here. I might melt, but we're at the Bienville Plantation. Now this is kind of a legendary bass fishing destination for a lot of people. It's been around for a long time. It's about 5,000 acres. It's got about 2 dozen-ish lakes, something like that, full of big bass, crappies, catfish and other fish species down here, and some alligators. So we're hoping to see some alligators while we're here, maybe even catch a giant. We're gonna test out some brand new gear from Shimano, and some of the Bass Elite pros are here too. They're gonna be testing out gear, telling us what they like, giving us tips on how to use it, and just kind of showing us how they like to bass fish. So we got some tips for you, break down some new gear, and show you a really cool place in Florida.
Bassmaster Elites, and then I guide back home. Home is Lake Mille Lacs. Do a lot of smallmouth guiding throughout the year when I'm not on the road, tournament fishing, and yeah, and just teaching people about fishing.
Today, Josh was starting out with a new square bill bait from Shimano called the Macbeth.
The Macbeth's actually a crankbait. The 63 is the original, and I've kind of been secretly fishing it the last 5 years or so. It's been in the lineup for Shimano in Japan. It's got a lot of Japanese innovation to it, no doubt about it, but it's got some good old American crankbait to it, you know, just your standard square bill. It's got a hard wobble. This is the 50 model. I also got the 63 ready to rock and roll. Figure if the wind picks up this afternoon, try to target some bigger bites if we can get big bites on this one, but you can tell I just had this yesterday for the first time. They're already kind of wearing it out, but we got a little bit of stained water, and this is a newer lake. Not quite the vegetation in this one that you'd be typically used to here in Florida. Stained water, and fish are kind of pre-spawn. We're just coming off of a cold front, so things have been a little bit chilly, but the water temp is definitely a couple degrees warmer than it was, or than it's been the last couple days on these lakes. So I think today we're supposed to push like 80, so the crankbait's such a good pre-spawn bait as these fish are trying to pull up into shallow water.
While the cold front had slowed the fishing down a bit, Josh adjusted his cadence, adding a more pronounced pause to his retrieve, and the fish responded.
This one's got to eat. Nice, that's how you like them to eat it. Macbeth to the face. A little chunker to get things going here. You know, the rod you choose is kind of a big deal too. You don't, as much as I use NRX pluses and stuff for a lot of my fishing. It's a nice little chunk. Throw back. As much as I like that NRX plus, this is an IMX Pro CBR rod, which stands for crankbait rod. You know, it's got a better bend to it for cranking. It's got a more moderate action through the whole blank. Still a good tip on it to be able to cast, but it's a moderate fast. So instead of an extra fast or a fast action that you're gonna find in a lot of the NRX series, and high sensitivity, you know, the very top of the line graphite that you can find literally throughout any brand out there, really. This is gonna be a little bit more dumbed down for it. At the same time, I can make real accurate casts, which is super important, but I don't really wanna feel the fish. You know, if I was throwing an NRX Plus, a lot of times I'll feel the fish come up behind this bait. You can imagine the bait goes like this, and as they come up behind it, they push water, they break the vortex that's behind it. You actually feel that and pull it away from them thinking you have it. I don't want to feel them until they start pulling that bait away like that one just did. You know, I'm not sure why they like it on the pause so much. I mean, it makes the bait, if you know, the bait kind of, the way these things are is they're very buoyant. They want to float back up, which allows them to hit cover and kind of back out of the cover. So you're bringing it this way, and I'm sure they're following it, thinking about it, and then all of a sudden I'm pausing it, and it just kind of floats back in their face, and they seem to be grabbing it.
It's important to be on the move if you're not finding much for active fish. Now, after working our way around part of this lake, Josh wasn't noticing bass in the places he saw them the day before. And then, as he started up a far shoreline, he spotted a school in his electronics. But they still weren't very active, so he switched to a slower presentation with a chatterbait. Now that meant pulling out another NRX Plus rod, this time for bladed jigs.
I should be able to catch those ones out there. Oh, got that one. First impressions are that it's light, but it's all tip, you know, and then it's all backbone from there. And that's something that I really like because I can jig this thing like a jig. I mean, that's all a bladed jig is. You know, a chatterbait is just a jig with a blade on it. Vibration, lateral line kind of brings them in. I'm using a fast, high-speed Shimano reel. It's the Metanium, something that when I can yo-yo it like that, I can hit them and it's all tip. And then I can just get right on that reel and just start cranking them into the boat. But no matter where you're at, from Minnesota to Florida, bladed jigs, pre-spawn, you know, they catch a lot of fish and they catch big ones as well. This is pretty awesome. We were just sitting here throwing a crankbait this morning, catching some fish. They were small, not like yesterday. They were up eating the Macbeth big time. So we caught some. All of a sudden I saw my active target, a big school sitting out here in 6-7 feet. I think that's 3 or 4 in a row. That's a nice one. Let this one go and try it again. As long as I'm catching fish, I'm happy.
The Shimano guys brought these with them, and I said, well, what a better chance to actually get to throw it, you know, real life situation. Gunnersville, public water, really highly pressured fishery as well. And we started throwing it, and that day we caught 27. The biggest one was a 10-1.